Hello my dear students. Let us focus on lesson number 2 under commerce, which is business organization and classification of business organizations. In this particular video, you are going to learn about what is a business organization, classification of business organizations, public sector, private sector, as well as one type of private sector organization, which is sole trader. So my dear students, if I ask you how many business organizations have you encountered in your life, I'm pretty sure you will come up with various examples of business organizations that you're familiar with. However, we are going to learn in this lesson how to define a business organization and the classification of business organizations. What is a business organization? For example, if you take the most familiar example for you, which is school. The people working in a school include the principal, the management staff, the academic staff, which is the teachers. All these people work together with a common objective or common goal of providing quality educational services for students. We take another example like the hospital. In a hospital, who are the people working? Yeah, you would say doctors, nurses, and the other medical staff. All these people work together with a common objective of providing healthcare services. Another example, a retail shop. You take a retail shop, the owner as well as the employees working will work together with a common objective of earning profits by selling products to the customers. So by these three examples, you can understand what is a business organization. Let's conclude the definition of a business organization as a group of people working together with a common objective or common goal of profit. So children, now we are going to focus on the most important part of this lesson, which is classification of business organizations. Business organizations are divided and categorized or identified based on their ownership, purpose, and nature. All the business organizations can be divided into two main sectors. As it is visible on the slide, the two main sectors would be the private sector and the public sector. The private sector is again divided into four main private sector organizations, which you will be learning in your 7th grade. As sole trader, partnership, private limited, and public limited. Sole trader and partnership are collectively called unlimited liability companies, and private limited and public limited are collectively known as limited liability companies. We will be learning what is unlimited liability and limited liability at the end of this lesson. First of all, let us focus on the public sector. Organizations in the public sector are owned and controlled by the government on behalf of the people of a country. The main motive or aim is to provide services to the public with the secondary objective of providing employment to the citizens of a country. Few examples are given for you. You are already familiar with few of these, like government schools, government hospitals, and Ceylon Electricity Board, Ceylon Water Board. So Central Bank of Sri Lanka is one good example coming under the public sector, It provides financial management services to Sri Lankans. Ceylon Electricity Board, it overlooks the overall supply of electricity to people living in Sri Lanka. Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, one giant organization which imports and manages the supply of fuel to all Sri Lankans. Urban Development Authority, which provides services such as city planning and management, garbage disposal, etc. for all Sri Lankans. So these are few of the examples which you can read and get an idea about the public sector organizations. In order to get a better idea, I have provided few examples of public sector organizations as images. So dear students, as I explained in the beginning also, the main motive or aim, or in other words the objectives of the public sector organizations are providing services to the public, which is social welfare, as well as providing employment opportunities or jobs to the citizens. Public sector organizations may provide their services either free of charge or at a nominal price. A nominal price means the public sector organizations always target or focus on affordability of the services for the public without considering their cost of operations. This means they may even operate at a loss to the organization. Their main concern is that the general public is able to afford the services they provide. Have you ever thought how the funding or finances to operate the public sector organizations come from? These funds are collected by the government using different means or methods. Taxation, foreign loans, and profits from some public sector organizations are few of those methods. A government usually decides to take responsibility to manage services considered to be very essential, like transportation, education, healthcare services. So my dear students, have you ever thought the fast food restaurants that you run to like KFC, McDonald's, Pizza Hut, whenever you're hungry, or the Kia supermarket that you go to in order to buy groceries, or the other clothing stores that you go to in order to buy clothes, or maybe any private hospital that you go to in order to get your health care services, falls under. Yes. All these organizations that I mentioned falls under the private sector. These organizations are owned and controlled by individuals or group of individuals. Their main objective or their main motive is to make profits. While these private sector organizations are also catering to provide goods and services to the public, they will not do so without earning a profit. Few examples in the form of images are given for you for better understanding of the examples coming under private sector. So children, now we are going to focus on the first type of private sector organizations. In the classification of business organizations, I mentioned there are two sectors, public sector and the private sector. Under the private sector, we mentioned four types of private sector organizations. One of them is sole trader. If you want to be your own boss in the business world, the best option for you is to start easily as a sole trader. Very easy to establish, and a business that is owned by only one person or one owner. This single owner or proprietor invests his or her personal funds into the business. Sometimes he can make use of loans. He earns all the profits generated by the company. So how can you describe a sole trader? A business owned and controlled by only one person. Especially small scale businesses, they are very easy to establish. Some examples of sole trader businesses are given. So now we are going to focus on the features, including the advantages and the disadvantages of sole trader business. Since there is only one owner for this type of business, independent, quick decisions can be made. At the end, only one person is managing the business, therefore, he can take quick decisions without consulting others. And also he can take his decisions alone. Also, he has the advantage of enjoying all the profits that the business makes alone. He has to pay all the expenses incurred by the business, which is a disadvantage. When it comes to the electricity bill, water bills, and the other expenses of the business, everything should be bared up alone as the only owner. He has to manage all the operations alone, but he can have employees under him to carry out certain jobs. This type of business is very easy to establish, and also there are very less rules and regulations, which comes under an advantage of a sole trader. Unlimited liability. If you can remember, when we were classifying business organizations, I mentioned that sole trader and partnership businesses falls under unlimited liability companies. So what is this unlimited liability? Unlimited liability means, as the owner, you are personally responsible for all the debts and the liabilities that you owe another party. You have to pay them alone. You have to bear up sometimes selling your own property. That falls under a disadvantage of sole trader businesses. Take a look at the example given on this slide. Jane is going to invest her personal funds, money, to start up a sole proprietorship business. It's a cafe. These sole trader businesses are not considered as separate legal entities. Minimum number of legal requirements in order to set up a sole trader business, and there is no legal personality. They are unlimited liability businesses. So to do legal activities, sole trader should use a personal name. In this instance, Jane was the personal name and business name could be Jane's Cafe. So children, we have come to the end of today's lesson, which was business organization. We introduced business organization and classified business organizations into two main sectors, as private sector and the public sector. We learned features, objectives and examples for each sector. And also we divided private sector into four main business organizations. And we learned the features, advantages as well as disadvantages of the first type of private sector organizations, which is sole trader. So now here's a set of questions for you to answer at home. Study the lesson carefully and answer these set of questions in your writing book. With that being said, next week we will be doing partnership and private limited companies, which falls under the private sector organizations. Thank you for watching this video.